Hi everyone, if you're watching a video, recording, do fast forward 1 minute here. Well, for those of you who are hanging out on Monday, you might have seen that I seem to have double-clicked my on-off switch for the go live, and I have a second video that's lingering out there. Thank you to everybody who has contacted me to let me know that I'm having a phone conversation, private phone conversation live with everyone watching, but it was deleted, although apparently it's still lingering out there for some weird reason. So, but I do appreciate everyone who has reached out to let me know that, I might want to get rid of that little video. What can I say? Anyway, so we're going to start here in just a second. Today is Wednesday, November 3rd. It's the first Wednesday of the month, which means it is Why Not Wednesday. So if you're around this afternoon at 4:30 and want to join us for a couple of drinks and some laughs and show us all the projects you have since finished from Virtually Ever Crafting, we are going to get together at 4:30. The link is on the Q Talk Facebook page. So if you just go to Q Talk, it should be up there. So I thought, wait, I'm double checking. The Zoom link is in the comments if you're looking for that. But it is at 4:30 Eastern time today. And let's see. Okay, so today is UFO Wednesday, which means I am working on someone else's project that they did not finish for one reason or another. So this is really part 2 of Amy's UFO. Part 2? Part 3. Part 3 of Amy's UFO, now that I think about it. So she sent me a bunch of material on a project that she never finished or never even started, and had me go ahead and make it for her. So last week, I want to say it was last week, I made this project for her. So it's just gallery wire that's been put on a base. And, she also sent me a stone. And the thought was that we would go ahead and put the stone on top of this project. But quite frankly, after some discussion with Amy, I decided that I don't know, I just love this band. I think this band came out so nicely and it became so seamless. You can't find the seam anywhere you really, really, really have to be looking as you go through the project. Look at the project. It's really, really hard to find the seam. And I was like, why not let it be what it is? I haven't patinaed this yet. I'll patina it at the end here. So what we decided is that we would just leave this project alone, and I would make a second project out of the material that was left. There was plenty of material here to really make 3 projects. So 2 bands and yet another ring. So I put some thought into this and I was like, let's do something a little bit different, okay? What we have here and what was sent was some gallery wire. Actually, this is not even her gallery wire. We didn't have anything left from this one. She had also sent, let's see, I'll show you. She had also sent this gallery wire, which is way too big to set the stone in. And because this is this beautiful tourmaline, I have to zoom in and show you. Because frankly, this came out of my stash and I talked Amy into buying it, and it was just this beautifully clear gem grade green tourmaline. I don't want to take away from it. I want to make it into what I hope is something that will show off the stone. So from her material, I decided, okay, you know what, let's see what we can do. From this ring, I had a piece of leftover stock, so we're going to use that. She sent me a piece of 3 by 1.5 millimeter rectangle wire, which is perfect for ring shank. So I'm going to use that. And her gallery wire was a little too big and there wasn't enough left over from the small one, so I decided to pull some gallery wire of my own. Actually, it's sort of funny. Hold on, let me look at this real quick. Some gallery wire of my own and use that. So this is just something I had out of my stock. And, even pieces like this, I don't consider scrap because there's plenty of things you can do, and you'll see that today. Additionally, I was like, you know what? I don't want to just make a simple gallery wire setting. Let's just say it's too simple. So I wanted to put some more emphasis on the stone and give it a little bit more life. So what I'm choosing to do is I'm going to actually create basically, I guess, a double bezel, you would call it, but some interest in this into the setting. So this is a 2 by 1.5 millimeter rectangle wire. By the way, if you're not familiar with rectangle wire, something that you need to know is that a lot of people always ask me, what's the gauge? It's not measured in gauge. Once you get into these shapes, it's measured in dimensions. So that's why I say 3 by 1.5. You can buy 3 by 1, 4 by 1, 4 by 1.5, so on and so forth, based on the thickness and the width that you want. So it just goes into gauges. By the way, if we're talking about half round wire also does the same thing. You can buy half round wire in gauges, but you can also buy half round wire in dimension, because some half round wires do come in height. So you have low dome and high dome. So if you think about the dome of the half round, it gets higher or lower. So you would measure that, or if you don't have any, then you would take out your caliper to see how thick you want the wire. Okay, so there's my story, a little bit of a side note on how to buy and how they define wire sizes and shapes. Okay, there. Don't even talk to me about triangle wire. That becomes a different animal altogether. Anyway, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a bezel today. So, as I was thinking through this project, I was thinking, this sort of actually lends itself to this project of trying to find or trying to make a seamless join to continue the design. So how am I going to do this? I guess we're going to find out here in a second. But wait, where are my cutters? Once again, the cutters have gone astray. I just saw them this morning. I have no idea. I literally just saw them this morning. Oh well, okay, we're going to work with what we have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this gallery wire and I'm going to bend it around the bezel. Now, you want to make sure that the ends, when you're doing anything with a bezel like this, you want to make sure that the ends and a square is always on the side. You never want to go on the corner, because you will never be able to shape it to said corner so that all four corners are the same. So there we are. There's my first bend. We're going to bend that there. And then I'm just going to start eyeballing this. Right there. And see about size. Good. And then now that I've got a hold of it, I'm just going to use my hands and whip it around. And I'm going to bend it at an overlap, okay? So I have an overlap, I know this, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut it right there. And then I'll cut it back. Okay, because I know clearly we're not going to leave that overlap. But what I'm looking for by bypassing it is I'm looking for the design to see where it lands. But before I do that, double check on the size. Oh, I think I got lucky. Okay, so it looks like it will be almost a perfect fit. So we'll go ahead and cut the other one. And I'm still cutting it a little bit long because I know I'm going to have to file this. I know that my cut is not going to be perfect. And because I know I'm not using the cutters I really want to use because it's since walked away, I'm going to go ahead and squeeze that down because it's a little wonky from the cut. And I'm going to file that just a little bit. So let's take out a nice file here. Not that one. Needle file would be good. Okay. Pull out the needle file. On a side note, just to let you know, all of your videos are expiring as of midnight tonight for Virtually Ever Crafting if you did not take extended view. If you purchase 10 or more classes or registered for 10 or more classes, then you will get automatic extended view. And tomorrow you will receive your new links with the new passcodes so that you can access that again. And extended viewing is going to get you to November 14th. I want to say 14th. Okay, so here we are. So it is a little big and a little bit long. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that down some more. Teeny weeny bit. Actually, we'll do it on this side. There we are. See how little I'm taking off? You know, you got to be diligent about how you're cutting. And, you know, it's hard to explain, but cutting is a skill. Some people don't think it is, but it is. And you will get used to it over time. You know, beginners, it's a little bit hard to figure out where you're cutting. But take your time, and really best practice is cut a little bit at a time. So I'm just filing this to get a really nice flush end, like so, as you can see. And there we have a nice continuous pattern. I'm going to put it back on my stone and squeeze it on and see how I'm fitting. I like that. It's pretty good. All right. So another thing I'm looking for right now is making sure that this side, the bottom side, is nice and level to each other. I'm going to push it together like a jump ring. And notice how I push beyond itself to create some tension. I'm going to squeeze it on my chain nose to get it nice and flat. You see that? So now it is a beautiful connection. We'll set everything aside here and let's solder it. I'll use a little bit of hard solder paste. You can use chip or whatever it is that you have, of course. I like solder paste because it just gets the job done very quickly, and now I can't find my joint. Where is it? Oh, there it is. And also, if you notice now, to solder this, I'm going to face the little points down. Facing the points down will hopefully keep it from melting. Instead of having the points up, you run the risk of melting it. So the points are down, a little teeny bit of solder. And we're going to heat the whole thing and then heat that joint right there. Everybody, see how quickly that's going to happen? Boom, done. Didn't even take a whole entire minute to do that, right? So, good. Little quench. And now I'm going to take out my bezel mandrel. And this is a square bezel mandrel. By the way, all these items are available at theurbanbeater.com if you are needing any of these tools. Bezel mandrels are great. It gets, you know, it's just really helpful. We also have a bezel mandrel set. They're little mini mandrels about 6 inches. And so you can get a whole entire set of like, I think there's 6 different shapes for $29. So that's a cool deal. Let's see what we got here. Okay, let's see if it fits. Please fit. Ooh, feeling a little small. Oh no. Wait, what happened? I think I got the corners a little too square. Okay, so you know what I'm going to do? I am going to throw this in the pickle, re-anneal this, and reshape it because I got a little hard putting it on the bezel mandrel. This really should fit. Oops. Oh. Dear Lord, don't make me do it twice. So the question out there is, does gallery wire have an uneven bottom? Is that correct, honey? It depends on the gallery wire you're buying. Okay. Most of them, I'm going to say most of them have a flat bottom. It might be slightly jagged, and you can always sand that a little bit. I'll show, oh, here, I can show you. You see, like this one, can you see that? Let me zoom in some more. it is ever so slightly not perfect. You can sand that really easily. So once you make your bezel, I would sand it just to get a really nice flat surface. And I might have to sand this one. We'll see. Okay, so, now I'm thinking about why did I pickle that? I really wanted to anneal this one more time. So let me anneal this. Might have to pickle it again. Okay. All right, so it suddenly got a little bit small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the corners that got a little too square, and I'm going to round it up a little bit because this is a cushion cut. This is not a square cap. And here I'll show you. I do see, if you flip it upside down, you see some gaps in the corners, you see? You can see a tiny bit of gappage right there and right there. So I'm going to just reshape it. There we go. Oh, yay. Okay, so you see what I did was I put in the chain nose into the corners. It got a little too square for my cushion cut. And you can see now it is a nice fit. Okay? Yay. Woohoo. All right, so next up, what I want to do is I want to create a frame. So most people would just stop here and use this bezel, put it on a back plane, put it and set it. We call it good. I want to get a little bit more. You could put a twisted wire around it. You could put some bead wire around it or whatever decorative wire you want. But if you've been following my work, my work is a little bit less ornate, we'll say. And it's a little bit more to the side of contemporary. Even though I'm using gallery wire today, I'm going to make this not so traditional. Okay, so it's a little bit of both. Let's see. So here I want to turn a corner, and I'm going to use my round nose, my round nose nylon nose pliers, because I sort of want this bend to be more round, like that. You see that? Then straight. And then we'll go right in here. I think I cut this a little short, quite frankly. If I screw this side up, it's okay. I'm going to just cut it. Cut it off. Oh, yay! Did you see that? It fits! Oh my goodness. Yay me. I know, a little geeky this way. It is what it is. So I'm straightening this side out a little bit. Okay. And then we're going to put this right in here. I would not be playing around with this all this much if I was not on camera. But I'm trying to do it so that there is a perspective for you. A better perspective. Okay, before I bend it all the way, I'm going to just keep checking and making sure that my bend is correct. So see here, as I start bending it, I'm a little long, so I'm going to pull back a little bit on that. Because really this wire is so thick, I don't necessarily want to unbend it. see. Okay, so now I've gone a little short. I'm going to double check and see if there's another corner that it fits better on. 2. Nope. Nope. That's the way it's going to go. Okay, it's a little bit short now. I'm going to anneal it. Anytime you are bending wire, you're hardening it. So don't hesitate to anneal as you go. Save yourself the grief, okay? We might be annealing 2 or 3 times. It's okay. Better to anneal than to struggle or to break your wire. So we're just going to heat it up nicely so you can see until it starts changing colors. I'm going to bend this out again. Have you guys seen these pliers before? I don't know. Have I used these? I don't use these very much. As you can obviously, I don't think I've ever used these on camera because I don't use them very much. I just use them once in a blue moon. Okay, so now that I bent it back out, I'm going to anneal it one more time. It just feels really hard. Do we have these on the website, babe? I can't remember. Round nylon pliers. I don't think we have it on the website, but if you are interested, dear Lord, Q. Okay, I screwed that up again. So one more time, 3rd time's a charm. I'm gonna mark it this time. I went back to the same bend, darn it. Okay, so no, we don't have these on the website. If you're interested, reach out. We can special order them for you. I think they're like all of $18. Okay. I put a weird bend into it, so I'm going to straighten it out. You see that? There we go. I know. Now I'm going to make it too big, right? Right. Of course I did. I don't like making squares. Amy, if you're watching, I hope you appreciate this. This is all for you. Yeah, I'm really struggling with this one. I don't know why. So notice how I'm squeezing along the flat side to make sure that that is flat again. And actually, I'm going to go this direction now. I'm going to use these instead. I'm struggling with the other pliers. You want to, when you're doing this, you just have to work with whatever you have. And whatever is going to make your life easier is how you're going to approach it. So here I'm going to straighten this out too. Okay. Okay, there we are. Nothing like getting the first 2 bends perfect and then not getting the next one perfect. I know. Challenges. And notice how I'm working that as I'm going. Oh, so much better. Okay. And I'm straightening those sides as I'm going, like so, making sure they're nice and straight. I know that my corners are not the same. I can totally see that. I know you can see that too. But I'll fix it after. Okay, so here, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this so that I'm not struggling anymore with the length. I'm gonna cut it a little long because I know for a fact that this side has a bevel in it. So I'm gonna have to trim that off, okay? And I'm gonna go ahead and file that now before I make this final bend because it'll be easier to do it now than later. I've now lost my file. When you're filing, make sure that the piece is on top so you can see what's going on. I find a lot of times students like to put the piece on the bottom. It's like, well, if your file's on top, how do you know what you're filing? So always make sure that you can see what you're doing. Okay. Cut that again. See if I can get that pushed down. Oh. All right. Start doing this. I can feel things getting hard. That's okay. I know it's off. You can totally see it's off. But this will help me gauge how much, see, I can see how much gap I have, and it'll help me gauge how much I need to cut off. So a little bit at a time is how I'm choosing to do this, to bring this together. See, still too big. So you can see the gap there. I'm going to keep cutting it. And again, I want you to see how little I am cutting off at a time, just to ensure I don't overcut. Okay. So now I'm going to adjust this because I know that bend is slightly off. Okay, we're going to needle it again. Every time you put a pair of pliers or a hammer or anything or a file to your metal, it is hardening. I just heard myself say that. It sounds like it's disheartening. And in a sense, it sort of is a little disheartening when it does that, isn't it? I know. Just don't mind me. That's the geek in me here. There There we go. There it is. Okay. Okay. So close. Oh, so close. Yeah. So what I'm going to do here, you see, that's really nice and tight. Really close. I'm going to go ahead and file this a tiny little bit just to get that nice. And then we're going to solder it. Get those joints together, solder it, and then reshape it after soldering. Remember, by soldering it together, you give yourself a lot of leverage to help shaping, right? It's all about leverage. Okay. So I want to make sure it's nice and smooth and even this way. I'm not going to pickle because I just filed both sides, so it should be nice and clean. And we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of hard solder. And I'm going to go with on the inside, like so. I know my shape is off. I don't want to hear it. I'm going to fix it. This will help anneal it too while you're at it. Why aren't you flowing? There it is. It felt like it wasn't going to flow, and in the last minute, it just flowed. Woohoo! Yay me. Okay, let's check it. Good. Throw it in the pickle, we'll reshape it. So in the meantime, let's find a piece here. Okay, so now we want to make sure this is nice and flat. I'm going to pop that out, and you want to make sure it's flat to, always when you're doing a bezel, make sure it's flat to your back plate, okay? So it is not flat, not perfectly anyway. So I'm just going to put on some sandpaper and sand it down. Just like so. You see how you can see the nice flat surface? Like that. Okay. So we'll solder that down here in a minute. But we'll solder at the same time as we do the frame. Oh, you didn't pickle. Try that again. Well, what's going on with the pickle today? So look, another piece for my scrap. If you were watching on Monday, here's the ring, somewhat cleaned up. I have a plan. I have a really fun plan for this. So you can tune in on Monday to see that. While it's pickling, another thing too is I have gone ahead and cut another back plate for this because this stone has so much clarity in it. I want to make sure that there is reflective value. So I have cut a piece that will go inside. Let's check and make sure that actually fits. And it'll go inside of this piece and right before we set it. And I've gone ahead and polished it to a high mirror shine. Oops. And it does fit, you see, and that will give it the reflection or the reflective value that we're looking for. So that works out really well. And there's a booger on there, so let me clean that. I want it to be really, really nice and clean and really shiny. So I'm going to put it on a pro polish pad. You guys have seen these, right? These are great. We do have these on the website, and it'll help polish this up perfectly. just a little bit of sanding or polishing. It has, what do they call it? Is it microfiber? That's been embedded into these sponges, and they make for a great final polish. So there it is. Nice and clean. I'm going to set this aside and not touch it again. And let's go grab that bezel out. Oh yeah, there you are. Okay. Okay, so here it is. Shape isn't great, so we're going to fix it. Okay, so that needs to be rounded up a little bit. These need to be squared out a little bit. So make a decision here. We're going to put it back on here. I'm going to try to use this to round it out a little bit. And then we'll take this and square it up a little bit. To try to get these, oh, nice. These ends to be much more square. It's a little wonky earlier. Okay, see? It's coming along. This is good. Shocking but true. And I'm putting it into my parallel pliers on the sides. If you notice, I keep squeezing on these sides because I want them to be even. I want them to be a little bit more square. There it is. Okay. So now I want to go ahead and clean the joints because my joints are not perfect. This is still slightly off. Let me fix that a little bit more. So cool. That's making me very happy. Now, if I was just making this for a sample piece, not a final piece, or for myself, I probably would have finished there already. But because this is going to someone, I'm working a little bit harder for it. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and sand the top of this before I solder it down, because it's going to be so much easier to do the cleanup now than to clean up after you've soldered it. Because I want to make sure that these joints are invisible, right? So the question is, how do I feel about using Mylar for the inside piece? Honestly, I've never heard of it. But then another thing too is Mylar, how careful do you have to be to ensure there's no crinkles in it? And yeah, it's fun. And the other mention that they made is that the silver will tarnish over time. Well, I find that interesting because I haven't had that problem, and I have pieces I've had for 10 years, at least 10 years. How long have I been doing this? Anybody have an answer to that trivia question of the day? How long have I been doing this? I have a couple pieces from the original, from the very first time I ever made this, or ever made jewelry, and they are still perfect. So what are we talking about for tarnishing? 12 years so far, still good. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Mylar. Has anyone out there used Mylar? What are you reporting? Or report back to us. Let us know what's going on. Mylar meaning, I had to think about what Mylar was when she said, when the comment came in, until it was mentioned of the inside of potato chip bags. So it's foil, right? Of sorts. It's like a mirrored piece of plastic, like, you know, Mylar balloons. But again, where are you going to get Mylar that's perfectly flat and working with it, ensuring that there's no crinkles? So what I'm doing now is I'm just sanding these edges to make sure that they are really, really, really nice. So another question is would using fine silver for the insert prevent any possible tarnishing? Sure, I don't see why not. But frankly, I'm not aware of people really doing that. I just use what I have, and it's, like I said, it's been working. So, you know, another thing too, I have to say, years and years ago, I had someone telling everyone that you should not use sterling silver. You should only use fine silver because it doesn't tarnish. The reality is, fine silver does tarnish. It takes longer. That's just physics, right? You cannot. It's a metal. All metals basically patina, tarnish, erode over time. It's about exposure, what you're exposing it to. Okay, so if you are exposing it to light and oxygen, it tarnishes. Nature of the beast. Okay, you know what? I just realized I didn't flatten this out. Maybe that's why I'm sort of struggling to get this really flat. Make sure it's flat. Yay. Okay. So, yeah. Anyway, so they were telling everybody that you really should just use fine silver. You can't use fine silver for everything because it's soft. So if you're making a ring, I don't think I'd be using fine silver, just saying. But there is merit to fine silver. There is merit to sterling silver. You just have to make a decision as to where your tolerance level is, as to what you're willing to sacrifice for either one of those. Because again, there's merit to both. It's just a matter of what you're trying to accomplish, right? Okay. So now we'll go ahead and solder these pieces on. You're not going to throw this in the pickle because I'm going to solder it on the sides too. And then go from there. Oh, wow, look at that. It fits perfectly on here. Good job. All right, considering it's a piece of scrap, I'm pretty happy about that. Okay. Pull this out of the pickle. Let's go ahead and put some medium solder on here. So we're just going to put some medium solder. I'm just going to put it in the corners. Okay. That was a ton of solder, so I'm moving it off like so. And then I'm going to put some on the bottom also of the outside rim. Okay, so I'm putting in 4 spots on the outside rim, 4 spots on the inside, and I'm doing it on the corner. We'll stick this over. Keeping track of what the top is and what the bottom is. Squeeze it down. Okay, that's not going to work. Tweezers. There you are. Lifting this up and pushing it down to that back plate. Making sure it's all the way down. You know, it doesn't want to go, so I'm going to help it out and squeeze it down. Come on. There we go. Uh-huh. Okay, so now I'm struggling to get this down. So I'm going to pull this off. Okay, better. There's a ton of solder down there anyway. We're going to go with that. And I'm just pushing it down to that back plate. Okay. We'll move the solder back out because it got shifted to those corners. Just to make sure that it's good. Okay. All right, so here I'm going to heat from the bottom, get it nice and hot, and then come over the top. I especially want to make sure it is nice and hot on that bottom because I don't want to melt. I don't want to melt those tips. And now I'm not going to point at it, I'm going to point around it because I don't want to melt those tips. There we go. There we go. I don't know if you can see that, but it went all the way around. Good. Okay. And let's see. Okay. So now we'll take out our shears and we'll trim this. As close as I can. So you can see where I'm going with that. Throw it in the pickle. While it's pickling, let's make this ring real quick. So we're heading for a 7.5. I'm going to pull out my step mandrel and just bend it around. I'm bending it around first at 6.5. Step it down and move it to 7.5. There you go. Okay. We'll trim that. Again, you want to use your nice heavy duty cutters or a saw. I'm going to take off the one side because it has a bevel on it. Put it back on, double check that size. That's pretty good. So we'll go ahead and cut the other side. So notice it's a nice match. Yay. Again, double check and see how it is. Okay, so we are ever so slightly large. You can see the gap in there when I squeeze it together. So I'll make one more trim. So I'm trimming away about as much as what the gap looked like. Put back in. Okay, and there it is. Okay, I still have a gap. I haven't pushed it together yet, but that should be good. I had a gap on the inside of the ring, clearly, but I also have the gap on the outside of the ring, so that's fine. Give it a little file. Let's grab the bow closing pliers and close that up. Oh, nice. And it'll just bring that ring together nicely. There we go. Slightly off, like so. Push those ends together. Perfect. Beautiful. Feels flush for the most part. Okay. And we'll go ahead and do hard solder on here. And believe it or not, we are almost done. I think. Do we have to go to another round of this? I don't know. Let's see. Put the solder on the bottom. Give everything a good heating. And then hit the joint. Remember, it's silver, so you heat everything. And then the joint, like so. We are struggling with solder today. I'll tell you, I don't know why. So pulling it off the block to reduce heat sink, but I can still see the solder. Oh, there it goes. It was still sitting as a lump in the back. It was getting awfully red, so I wanted to stop. Throw that in the pickle. Let's get the piece out. Yeah, we're gonna have to go to a second session with this. Okay, so here you can see there's a bit of a gap here because my wire was not perfectly flat to the bottom. It lifted along the way. So how am I gonna fix this? You think about it for a second. So the question is, how am I going to fix this without melting the little prongs? That's the trick. I don't know. I think I'm going to try. Why not? I'm going to go ahead and put it into this honeycomb block and see if I can push it down. Reheat it, get the solder to flow, and push it down. Right? I know, good luck with that. Without melting the little points. This is going to be interesting. Wish me luck. Put some more flux in there. Make sure that this solder flows. Grab my solder pick. Okay. I'm pointing it slightly away to make sure that I'm not just heating on top and heating the points, right? Because I don't want those points to melt. This is where it becomes tricky. It's because you have something so heavy and so light. So I'm hoping that the solder flows so that I can push this down. Did I do it? Oh my goodness, I think I did. OMG. Taha! It came down. Taha! Okay, but I didn't get everything. Gonna keep heating a little bit here. I got most everything. Get everything back hot again. There's still plenty of flux there. We're good. So that side came down. Yes, I'm being a little bit OCD about this. Oh, I think I got it again. All right, let's see. It did, you see? So it's nice and even. Okay. Yay me. So from here we'll file it, and then we'll reshape the ring and get it ready for soldering. All right, we are at about an hour. It's probably going to take me another half hour or so to finish this up. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and stop here. We're going to run another session of this, and then we'll do a little bit more finishing. I'll take a little bit more time out. Usually I don't, to do finishing, because I didn't quite finish this either. I was going to make Amy do it, but hey, I'll do it. It's fine. So we'll do another session, and Larry, sorry, your UFO is going to be pushed one more week, but yeah. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to file all this, and we will be back, let's see, next week. So next week we're supposed to have a demo on cutters. I'm going to push that to finish this, and so on and so forth, and we'll go from there. Okay, how does that sound? I hope that sounds good for you guys. But anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for hanging in there and playing along. I'm pretty pleased as to how this is actually coming out. The gaps are pretty nicely closed up. So yeah, it'll be great. It's going to be a great little, I think it's, this is sort of like, is this going to match the vision that I had? I think so. I really think so. So anyway, thanks for hanging out, and thanks again for everybody who sent me a note to say you're still online. You might want to turn it off. I appreciate that. We will be back on Monday, as I'm on the road this weekend. So what else? Or I'll see you at 1 on Wednesday this evening. So we'll see you there. Thanks for sharing all the videos and liking it. Do tell all your friends, and we'll be back. Thanks. Have a good day.